Hey, welcome to Guitar Knobs, the guitars, gear, noise, and nonsense podcast, hosted today by these knobs.
Tony Dudzik, pick Guardian.
Jared Brandon wound pickups.
Brandon's hot tonight.
That's right.
Oh my goodness. Hey everybody, this is Todd. Welcome to the Guitar Knobs podcast. We're thrilled to be here together. We're thrilled that you are with us. We're thrilled that you have chosen our podcast to listen to. There's so many good ones out there, and you should listen to all of them, really, but especially this one. We really like that you're doing that for us.
That's right.
Tony, what do we do on this show?
We like to talk about gear. Specifically, we like to talk about and to the builders of gear. Specifically, boutique gear. Amps,
Guitars,
pedals, pedal boards, accessories,
Guitars.
More pedals.
guitars.
and guitars.
Yeah. Hey, we're in luck because guess who's on the line?
This is Boot from BA Ferguson.
Boot from BA Ferguson Guitars. Yes. Probably seen quite a few things, especially with all the NAMM noise that came over across the Instagrams. I'm sure you saw his happy face and probably standing next to Nick Greer a couple times, right?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. We're hanging out. We're NAMM buddies.
NAMM buddies.
Nice.
Dudes, we are going to have a fantastically fun show tonight.
Is that in order?
It's we are. You will.
All right.
First, we got a couple of announcements to take care of real quick. Hey, we want to thank Rode for the Procaster mic that my mouth is spewing all this noise into, and Tony's and Jared's.
That's right.
And
No noise here.
We want to give a big fat thank you to the Rodecaster Pro. The thing that's capturing all the noise that's spewing out from the Procaster mic.
It is.
Rode has been very good to us.
Outstanding.
These are excellent products. If you yourself are thinking about starting a podcast, or you want to record any other things with your voice, or even your band or your instruments, just you're jamming at home in your bedroom or your basement or whatever, and you want to record this stuff, this is kind of a really nice way to do it. It's nice and easy. So check them out, Rode mics. Also, we've gotten a lot of great mail recently, so you're going to see that trickle through across here soon. But tonight, I'm going to read something. Hey guys, love the show. I'm a new listener. I'm a podcast freak and a guitar nerd, but until recently, these two interests had not combined for some reason. I found you on Instagram and have been listening to nothing else for the past few weeks. Wow, thank you. That's excellent.
I might recommend taking a little break.
Take a little break, yeah.
At least a bathroom break.
Says, I work wiring guitars for Gibson USA in Nashville. I've heard of that. I've heard of them.
Who?
Gibson USA.
Oh.
And I thought you
I
would
thought
be
you said
interested to
Chipson.
know that many Gibson guitars have been wired while listening to your show. That's really cool.
That's great.
You could do it like you'd can describe it some way. Just put like GK on every one that you do, right? Don't do that. I don't want you to get fired. Anyways, he says, I've been interested in building pedals for some time, and listening to your show has inspired me to finally buy some kits and build some effects that I've been wanting. DIY kits are a bit cheaper, so that appeals to me as well. Thanks for the show, guys. I'm happy to find kindred spirits in the podcast world. Us too. That's from James Pegler. Thank you, James, for sending that. We
Thanks,
love
James.
stuff like that.
Thank you.
It's a twofer. It's like, hey, we really like your show. Awesome. That's fantastic. And I'm doing something with it. It's one thing to listen to it. He's doing something with it.
And if that company he's working for ever gets anywhere, we could probably have them on as a guest.
We could. Yeah. That would be great. Maybe they got a model or two. That'd be awesome. I can't wait to see them when they finally come out with their, full line and everything. But big thanks to James Pegler for sending that. We appreciate you, buddy, and we hope you continue listening and sharing the love out there. Share the love, people. If you're seeing us on Instagram, for Pete's sakes, just give us a follow, man. Just do it. It feels good. I know it will. You feel good when you hit something. You're like, button. Feels good. So do that for us. We'd appreciate it. Gentlemen, we've got a lot to talk about tonight, so I'm just trying to get right to it.
Things.
We're going to find out what is going on in our music world this week. Tony, we're going to hear from you, and then we're going to engage Mr. Boot Ferguson.
Okay. So I should go first.
You should go first.
All right. So, this actually just happened this week, which coincidentally would be in my music week world this week.
Now you sound like me.
I'm talking like Todd. Jeez, it's catchy. I was having some noise problems with my AC-15 Vox.
Oh, no.
And I figured it was a tube or something like that, which,
Wasn't your plan? I got you good, man.
no, it was not my playing.
Oh, okay.
I play very tastefully. But anyhow, Rob Chafe from Mad Cow
Yes.
happened to be at my shop. I did a pick guard for him.
He repairs amps for a living.
And he repairs amps for a living. I said,
on the last
hey,
he knows a thing or two.
hey, you got some time to take a look at this beast?
Mm-hmm.
So he said, yeah, it's a good timing. So he took it home with him, and big shout out to him because he gave me a call that afternoon and said, well, you got a cracked tube socket, a couple of the tubes are shaky.
Whoa.
But it was an extremely fair price. A small price to pay.
That's kind of nuts because that amp just sits there. I've only ever seen it sit there. It's never
Those are hand wired too.
Yeah. He suspects that somebody, when they change tubes, now I had never changed tubes in this amp since I got it, but somebody put a slightly larger AX7 in the socket and maybe kind of pushed a little too hard.
Yeah, cracked it.
So cracked the socket. But that's quick, easy, cheap repair. So anyhow, long story. Well, I'll go to part B on this. So he fixed it up, put some new tubes in it, cleaned everything. It's like incredibly quiet now. I mean,
awesome
background noise wise. But I guess the lesson that I learned, because the only thing I did to this amp is it originally came with a greenback Celestion. I put an Alnico Blue in it.
Really?
Yeah.
He put it in?
No, I put it in.
You put it
when
in.
I got the amp.
Okay.
I took out the
Gotcha.
green, put in the blue.
Yeah.
And he said, because it's switchable between 8 ohms and 16 ohms on the output. He says, you've got an 8 ohm speaker in there, but your amp is set to 16.
Uh-oh.
I said, I thought I got a 16 ohm speaker. Turns out I didn't. And all this time it's been running at the 16 ohm setting.
Oh my God.
Luckily it didn't take out the output transformer.
Yeah.
But so he said, I'm going to switch it where it belongs. And so I guess the lesson we should learn is when you change speakers,
Triple check.
even if you're experienced, like a person like myself,
Yes.
don't be me.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
So, but no, I'm real happy with it. The amp sounds great again. It's just it was interesting. He had it on an oscilloscope, and he was doing some. He shot a video of that and showed that to me too. So
That's cool.
thanks, Rob.
Yeah. That's like having a doctor go up your nose with a video camera, but different.
Yeah.
All right. Boot, what's going on in your music world this week, buddy?
Hey guys, there's a whole lot going on. On top of restructuring the business and all that stuff, I'm working on quite a few builds. Flyweight's been our most successful guitar.
Just really quickly before you get deep into this, can you let people know where they can best find you on Instagram and or the internet right now?
Sure, yeah. Instagram, you can find me at BA Ferguson Guitars. Facebook, same thing, baferguson.com. Also on Twitter. And I have a TikTok account that I don't use very well because I'm not young and hip. So,
right. Or if you are trying and it's accidentally recording.
right.
Yeah. All right, cool. Well, everybody, make sure you go check him out on Instagram and online and see the guitars that we're talking about, so you can follow the bouncing ball on the show. That is Jared. Okay, tell us what's going on in your music world.
Been just cranking out guitars. So we moved. I used to be in South Carolina, and we made a move over a year ago, and it was kind of a means to take several steps back in order to take better steps towards the future, if you know what I mean.
Sure.
So So we've been in El Paso, Texas, actually on the outskirts of El Paso, Texas, in a little town called Chaparral, New Mexico. And I've been building guitars out here. I've actually built more guitars this past year than I ever have an entire year, and that was kind of the point in stepping away from what I had. I had a full-on repair shop. We did repairs and restorations, and we did lessons, retail, and then we did manufacturing. And so
Wow.
It got to the point where, I hardly had time for my family and hardly had time to actually touch a guitar. And so, we took an extreme measure to change some of that. And so far so good. Not without its bumps in the road, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, that's awesome. Yeah, you mentioned your family. Boot, you and I had a great conversation before you came on the show a couple weeks ago. And, I think we have a lot in common where that goes as far as our kids and desires for, the health of our family and everything. And so it's great to connect with you at that level as well.
Yeah. It's great to see that, I'm not the only one with a ton of kids.
Yeah. Speaking of, I've got the big kid in front of me, Jared.
That's me.
You still there, Boot, right? Okay.
Yes,
there you are.
yes.
Okay. Go ahead, Jared.
Yeah. So, of course, everybody knows I went to.
I don't know if everybody knows that.
Everybody now knows that I went to the NAMM show, and I had a really good time and whatnot or whatever. But I ran into our friend Drew Foppy and our good buddy Jeff Schroeder.
Yeah.
And I was kind of standing up against the wall. I was talking with Arcane Pickups, Rob, and just kind of watching everybody scurry around. And then I saw them, and they're like, "Oh, hey, it's Jared." And they came over, and we talked for a while and whatnot. And I've been toying around with just buying one of Drew's amps for a long time.
Yeah. Well, ever since you played it on the stage,
yeah,
on the Smashing
yeah, I did.
Pumpkin show, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was rad. And so we talked in person about it, and we shook hands and sent me an invoice, paid it. So in the next few days, I'll get my Fopstar amp. I'm really, really excited about it.
Yeah, that's very cool. I can't wait to see that
Just
thing.
top notch.
Yeah.
So I got the small combo. Mm-hmm. So I'll probably bring it in.
That's great.
For
And
show
those
and
are
tell.
Really, really limited run
Yep.
amps. They sound fantastic. For those who don't know, we've referenced Drew several times on the show. He's been on the show a couple of times. He's a guitar tech for several bands out in the world, notably Deftones, Smashing Pumpkins.
He is really, really good at that.
Yeah.
He did Whitesnake.
Yeah, he won Best Tech of the Year, I think, last year or
Fleetwood
something
Mac.
like that. Fleetwood
He's
Mac.
so good at what he does.
Yeah.
And then the kicker is he's a heck of an amp builder, too.
That's right. Well, he should know what works and what doesn't. That's kind of the nice
Absolutely.
background there. So anyways,
Privileged to get that thing.
very
from him.
cool.
That's
Yep.
going to be nice. I can't wait to try that.
I cannot wait.
Yeah.
How about you, Todd? What's going on in your week?
Well, I
world.
had I was practicing again. We got a show coming up, and my guitar cut out again halfway through, and I was like, "Gee, my Christmas! I got to get this thing fixed."
You saw what I did the last time, right?
Yeah, we put a little tape around the potentiometer.
And it went out again?
Went out again. So I took it down to our friend Chase Gullett, Chasing Vintage Guitars, and I go down and hang out with him all the time, and we just talk and talk and talk too much.
Technically,
it's exhausting.
shouldn't that be up?
What? Up. Yes,
Yeah,
he
he
went
goes
up north. Went up north a little bit. Anyway, so he cracked it open and recognized somewhat the same problem. Right now, can you guys can probably maybe better explain the
So
the
you have your
switchcraft.
So you have your controls in your control thing there, and the pots are. I know. I'm sorry. The pots are kind of
Crystal clear.
You know how close together your
Maybe I
knobs
should do
are.
this.
You know how close together your knobs are.
Yes.
Well, if you look at them on the other end of the back of the guitar with the control cavity cover off, you'll see that the pots are a little even larger.
Yeah.
When you put pressure and you just crank that pot up, you just do it enough. You're hammering that pot, and when you're turning it, the terminals that are live will ground out on a ground because most of the metal that you see is grounded.
Yes.
So,
well, and this one in particular has it's a Switchcraft switch, but I think it's called a J switch. Am I correct?
I think
in
it
saying
is.
It?
Yeah.
So it doesn't just go straight up. It goes like in and then it hangs a hard. It just goes across.
Yeah.
Like an
Yeah.
SG switch.
Sure.
Yep.
Sure. So, anyways, that is like nestled like right up against the potentiometer and a whole bunch of other wires and stuff. So it's no bueno. And so he saw that and he says, "Well, this almost for sure is switching out here." So, or shorting out. And so what he did was put a little bit of shrink wrap on it.
So he did the shrink wrap?
Heat shrink tube.
Heat shrink tube over the terminal and that wire to protect it so that in no way, shape, or form could it keep getting tapped out.
I mean, if you keep doing it forever, you're gonna eat through the shrink tube. I mean,
I mean, I'm not doing it that.
I think you should get some
crazy, but
spray foam insulation and just shoot it in there.
I could, yeah, but he offered to put in a straight switch on it, we just did a quick thing and it worked.
Yeah, they do make a shorty switch instead of the L. It's an L-shaped switch.
Yeah.
And
He had one of those, but instead of doing a full rewiring, like, well, let's try this first, and it seemed to work. So, who knows? Maybe
Next
he'll
time.
come back again.
next time.
So,
you fill it up with that black epoxy, like the tar backs.
Yeah, then you can never change
Right.
the switch.
or spray.
Well, yeah, but you'll never. The switch will never move a little tiny bit at a time when you turn it up and down.
That's true.
yeah.
You know what you should do, my friend?
I know what we should do.
Yeah, get rid of the net pickup totally and just you just keep it in there as a dummy and just run it.
Suggested that.
Wire it straight out to the jack.
Run it straight out to the jack. No volume, no tone. Run
No,
it straight
no,
through.
I don't want to do that.
I would. You'll never have that problem again ever.
Well, anyways, that's a different guitar altogether. That's one that maybe someday I'll order from a guitar builder.
Probably
maybe
not.
BA. What do you think?
Maybe.
Sounds good.
What is that like? Have you run into that problem before?
A couple of times. Yeah, I've got a buddy of mine who's got a Telecaster who's had a similar issue, and I think he's resolved to just wire the bridge pickup straight to the jack, and then you just eliminate everything. You just screw it all.
Yeah.
But
I mean, other than that, you would just glue the pot, like super epoxy that pot so it just cannot stinking move every time you slam slam it up to 10 or 11.
I can't tell if you're angry or aroused when you're talking.
I was a little angry, but I have no idea why.
You could see it. He was getting angry.
Yeah.
I was at nothing.
So, anyways, there's that, and I just really hope that in the middle of the show it doesn't go.
Yeah, that would suck.
Womp. But anyways, that was my week. So, ta-da!
Yay.
And you know what comes right now?
1, 2, 3. 4 on the floor.
All right, Boot Ferguson, you're going to share your 4 on the floor with us right now. Do it.
all right. Well, so it's no secret that Nick Greer and I are friends, and same thing with Philippe Herndon from Caroline Guitar Company. In fact, we lived just an hour away from each other in South Carolina, and I grew up listening to Nirvana and a bunch of indie rock and noise rock, and between Nick and Philippe, they're the only pedals that really do it for me. So probably my number one is because it's on my board, is a Wave Cannon.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that momentary switch, it just freaks out. It does all the things that you couldn't get a Proco Rat or a Big Muff to do. I loved back in the old days when I was younger and I actually played guitar, I had a big muff, and there's a place for it, but it's sometimes just so one dimensional.
Yeah.
And that wave cannon really covers so many bases. Number 2 would be the Kilobyte.
Mm-hmm. That's made it on our show, I think 5 times now.
Oh, nice.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I absolutely love that pedal. And again, it's got that momentary switch, and that just causes it to do these ongoing forever swells. And, you can bust out a speaker with it, but who cares, And then I'm a big fan of stacking delays. In fact, I've got 3 on my board. I've got a Black Tiger on there, Greer's Black Tiger.
Oh,
and,
okay.
Yeah. And
3
I
delays?
Yeah.
Wow.
I've got a Line 6 and a Black Tiger and a Kilobyte on there. And Space Rock. Space Rock is I guess, what I try to play to myself. Not that I'm playing in front of anybody, but yeah. So Black Tiger is in that mix. It's one of my favorite pedals, and the cool thing about that one is you can get this really cool slapback type delay on it. Yeah, I just love messing with that.
Have there been a lot of other delays that you've tried? Like, do you use that one? Let me ask: is that specifically used for like major effect, or is that like an always-on kind of thing? Or
no, sometimes I use it sort of like not a chorus pedal, but you know what I mean. It kind of doubles up on itself and gives you that bright kind of tone. And then sometimes I'll use it where I've got the Kilobyte delays sort of spaced out a whole lot, and then on the Black Tiger I've got them kind of squashed in a little bit more. Mm-hmm. So it just you just get some chaotic delay sounds from that.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So you got Black Tiger, and then number 4.
Number 4, and I don't actually have it yet, but I'm getting a Lightspeed. And
yep.
Yeah, and that'll probably be my always on. Although I do like the sound of a clean guitar through an amp quite a lot, but I think that Lightspeed really adds a lot of color.
Yeah, a lot of people dig the old Lightspeed there. That makes it to an awful lot of boards.
Yeah,
that's a solid choice. You can do an awful lot with those 4 pedals, boy. Excellent.
Yeah.
Now,
especially if you're doing noise,
Yeah. And just out of curiosity, what amp are you playing through?
Believe it or not, I've got 2 amps that I float back and forth between. My goal is to have a mini Chief at some point in time, but
gosh, this thing sounds so good. God.
I'm a big fan of that low wattage, being able to really saturate the tubes. And right now, I actually play through an old a Traynor, a Yorkville Traynor, 40 watt.
Which model?
It's the 40 WR. It's the oh gosh,
not the Bassmaster.
No. It's the it's got the kind of burgundy Tolex on it. I think it's the YC40R because it's got spring reverb on it as well.
Okay.
Yeah. I love that amp.
I love the Traynors.
Oh yeah. And then I float back and forth between that and I've got a reverb rocket, Ampeg reverb rocket, with a cab that has a blue back and a green back.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, just kind of a nice combo in there. So
that sounds real cool.
Yeah, I love it.
Well, you're not the first person to bring up Traynor, and it is one of those amps that we see used a lot, but then people kind of, if you don't have a ton of expendable cash and you're maybe only a 1 amp person or something like that, which is pretty much, that's my wheelhouse. But that is one of those amps that you look at and you're like, I've heard people talk about this, but I don't know if I want to commit to it because it's still, I don't know much about it and everything, but every time someone talks about it, they're like,
Just buy
these
it.
amps are amazing.
I mean, I forget what guest it was that really loved the solid state trainers, which I've
Well,
played.
we've had a couple people do that.
But I'm really a big fan of especially the earlier Yorkville ones.
Yeah.
The tube amps. I mean, they're really hard to beat, especially for the money.
Now, just really quickly, I mean, we're getting into Trainerville right now, but just for those that aren't as familiar, what's a sound profile on that? I'd like to hear it from each of you differently.
At the same time?
No. No, that won't sound like his pedal board.
Yeah, that's right.
Exactly.
Too much delay.
Tony.
Boot, you can go first.
Boot.
Sure, yeah. I guess the profile on that amp reminds me of not quite a Fender twin reverb, but somewhere in that neighborhood, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
I did play through a twin for a long time and loved that. So it was a good. It was not as heavy as a twin, and that's what I loved about it.
Yeah. I think most of the trainers, at least the earlier ones, were based on, kind of Fender-y designs. Although I find that they have a little more kind of MIDI Marshall-y tone to them. So it's kind of a hybrid between a Fender and a Marshall, I would say.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Good.
Well, and the tubes that came in those were 5881s and not the 6L6s.
Right.
At least in mine, that's what came in them. And I tried 6L6s in there, and I did not like the way it sounded. And it was, so there's something about those 5881s. I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, well, we just
trying
had
to get some explanation on that.
We just had Dr. Z on, and he was talking about the tube profiles and things like that. And I guess 6L6s have a little more, bite to them, if you will.
Sure,
Whereas there's a little more headroom, I think, in the 5881s.
I'm just saying because it's all math and
That's good.
yes, excellent. Well, so hey, anybody who might be considering a trainer, there you go, and maybe that'll help out a little bit in a decision. If you see one that's a good price, and,
and they're pretty sturdy amps and easy to work on.
Now you
too.
mentioned the early tube ones. They obviously have a solid state line as well.
Yeah, those came later.
You know more than I do about the Trainer, and probably Jared and Boot. Feel free to chime in, but are the solid state ones? Are those also good? What do you think?
I mean, some people really like them. I still have a very hard time
with solid state.
solid state amplifiers. But there are plenty of other people that just love them. Think of Randalls. Those were the
I had a Randall.
Yeah, well, those were for
didn't know any better.
for
I
their
just had
day.
it.
No, but there were a lot of metal players that loved that sound. Oh yeah. Randalls, were big there, but I guess I'm more of a traditionalist, and I think I just get the sound in my head is closer to a tube amplifier.
Yeah, I get it. How about you, Boot?
Yeah, I don't know that I have an opinion on the trainers, the solid state ones. I haven't really heard them, but I will say that I've kind of changed my mind a little bit on the solid state sound, and what did that for me was those Katana amps.
Yeah,
they've got some profiling on those. It's just
Boss
incredible. It just was. Yeah, they were really. It was really surprising.
Excellent. Well, there's room for it all. I find it interesting when I'm playing. So I got the PV VTX, the classic VTX, and with the WGS speakers in it, the warehouse guitar speakers, and it sounds great. And then I'll play the Super O tube and I'll say, well, that sounds great. And then ultimately it's like, well, there's just is some. It's hard to put your finger on what it is, but somehow that does usually win out a little bit. So, but the thing is also, if you go into a live situation, once that's mic'd and it's going through a PA, it's like, does that?
It's almost
It doesn't.
It's
negligible differences.
I would agree.
And then you don't mess up your tube amp hauling it to a show or something. Knock on wood. Okay. All right. Well, hey, that was kind of fun detour right there. I just wanted to check in with Jared really quick before we jump into your and also Boot, before we get into your your actual interview. You were both at NAMM, and we're not going to do the drag out the NAMM thing for the next 2 months. So let's just get it over with. I'd like to hear a couple of highlights from each of you. Jared, do you want to chime in real quick?
Yeah, I'm just kind of going over to my pictures just so I don't forget. One of the highlights was basically just what I liked personally was a Reverend guitar. It was purple, and it had the cream color pickup rings, and it's kind of a new.
What it's called?
No,
It's called the Reverend Purple Guitar.
Yeah, it's a new shape. It's brand new. That's why I can't remember what it is. But the Gibson,
It's a double cut. It kind of looks like a Hammer double cut a little bit, doesn't it?
yeah, here it is. I'm showing Todd the
not
picture.
like a Hammer double cut. That's great. I like that. It looks like the Yamaha a lot.
Yeah, kind of does.
Yes.
But anyway, the Gibson room, I really liked the way they had that set up. They had the blue light and all that kind of thing, and the ES guitars that they do, the custom shop ones. I haven't seen a better custom shop guitar done as I've seen those.
What does that mean? Just for those who haven't had their hands all over a custom shop guitar, when someone goes, "Oh man, custom shop," like help everybody understand what that is.
I know vintage guitars pretty well. I'm not the vintage guitar guru guy,
yeah.
But I know enough to know that it looks like they actually went to Groons or what's the other big guitar place in Nashville?
Carter's.
They went to Carter's, and the development people must have went there, took measurements, and just really studied the original vintage guitars, and they implemented that in their custom shop.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's true in some in some cases, like if they're doing an artist model. Yeah. But by and large, the thing about the custom shop, whether it's Fender or Gibson or any other of the custom shops, is a customer can order something very specific, saying, "I want this guitar model with these pickups, with this neck profile, with blah 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 blah," and because they're building them essentially one at a time, unless it's a custom run, there you can pretty well specify exactly what you want.
Yeah. The batch that they did, though, it definitely looked like they really took their time.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt. I mean,
it's for NAMM anyway.
They're premium instruments without a doubt.
What is, just really quickly, just so we have some context here, a custom shop, just a regular burst Les Paul. You just made the money fingers.
Money.
Like, what do you think? I don't know because I've never ordered one.
I haven't ordered one either, but I'm sure
7, 10, 12.
Take a U.S. model and multiply it by 3.
Yeah, I've seen how they made them, and I saw the process. There's a nice lady that has been there. Listen.
Hey, lady!
There's a nice lady that works in the custom shop there. They make their own tools to scrape the binding on these.
Yeah.
They are that.
Chase does that.
Right. Yeah. Well, so do they at the custom shop. They are that into their craft there. So, that was really awesome. And then one more thing I wanted to bring up was...
Well, before you jump out of the custom shop, I wanted to check real quick. Hey, Boot. Your views on the custom shop stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. On the Gibson custom shop, I've seen some good stuff come out of there in my years doing repairs, and so it's hard to say. I feel like there's a lot of the same stuff I do. I make a lot of my own tools and jigs and all that stuff, and so I think what you're getting is those people's experience as luthiers as opposed to something that's assembly lined, and it's just and so I think there's value to it. Whether it should be 3 to 4 times the price, I think that's debatable. But
Yeah. Well, one other thing, when I toured the Gibson Custom Shop years ago, and a lot of the equipment that was at the Custom Shop, which was a separate building.
Yeah, it's a separate building.
Was the equipment that was at the Kalamazoo factory. Mm-hmm. So like the body carving, duplicator on the tops, that was the equipment that was making Les Pauls in the 1950s. So there is that. And, there is a lot more attention to detail. Obviously, they have a little more margin on this thing, so they're not, trying to push them out the door without going over them with a fine-tooth comb.
Usually people that work at the custom shop have been with Gibson for many, many years, unless there's some sort of prodigy luthier,
Right. I just want to point out to those of us who will never in a million years be able to afford a custom shop guitar, we can still get a custom guitar by so many builders.
Oh, yeah.
So many builders that we've had on our show. We're talking to one right now.
Well, I think that's
do pretty much anything you want.
That's why our focus is on boutique builders, because
trying to bring it back home, baby.
I think that's really the big thing on that is you are able to work, in this case, with pretty much the guy that's building your guitar.
Absolutely, and that's where I wanted to bring up my last thing was the observation. Of course, is my favorite area at NAMM is the area where all the boutique pedal builders are, where the boutique guitar builders are. Those are the people that know who I am. Not everybody does, of course, but if there's anybody that's going to really know me as a person, it's those guys. I just kind of feel, when someone walks up to me and say, "Hey, Jared, guitar knobs," or "Hey, Brandon, want pickups?" I just kind of feel like I'm back in the neighborhood,
Yeah.
And I just kind of feel a part of that whole community. That's my favorite part about NAMM. Is the camaraderie with everybody else, even the other podcasters. Like I saw Ryan Burke playing some guitar, and I saw I met and hung out with the Tone Jerks. Mm-hmm. I love those guys.
Yep,
it was a good time. That's probably my favorite part. Did
you run into Blake Tone Mob?
I think I did. I don't remember. I'm sorry, Blake. I'm
sure
there were lots. I met Boot
I met Boot for a quick second too. So
yeah. Cool. Yeah. All right. How about you, Boot? What are some highlights?
Yeah, gosh, there's so many, and it's funny because you're right. There's kind of a love-hate with NAMM. There's all the friends, right? It's like going to camp or something like that, and then there's all the noise and all the people trying to play the same John Mayer riff all at the same time. So it's
Sweet Child of Mine and all that. Stairway, that too.
Oh yeah. But yeah, the highlights, just meeting all the friends, hanging out with Nick. He's, like I said, he's one of my best buds and everything. And then as a result, we're sitting there and we were sitting at dinner Thursday night, and we got on the subject of Zappa, right?
Oh boy.
And then I just said, like, man, it'd be really cool to meet that guy. And he goes, "You want to meet him?" I'm like, yeah, I want to meet him. He gets on his phone, sends a text. It says, "All right, he'll be there tomorrow."
That's awesome.
And I'm like, what? And so sure enough, Dweezil Zappa shows up at the booth and, plays my guitar. It wasn't like I was trying to just get him to play my guitar. I really just wanted to meet the guy. And he's playing a bunch of amazing stuff. And then he turns around and he goes, "Hey, this is a really great guitar." And I'm like, what? I couldn't believe that, and then he kept playing for a little while and hung out for a bit and, got the photos and all that stuff. But that was a pretty...
that had to have been a good highlight, man. Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So, yeah, and then probably second to that, same day, I met Brad Wood, who's a producer, a recording engineer. He recorded a lot of my favorite bands back in the day, Sunny Day Real Estate and other indie rock bands, and so that was really cool to. Now he'll talk your ear off and stuff, but I was just dialed in, just listening to every single one of his stories. He met Nate Mendel, who's now the bass player for Foo Fighters. He came from Sunny Day Real Estate.
Yeah.
So he had stories all about him. So that was great.
I think you're the only other person I've ever met that's listened to Sunny Day Real Estate.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's on my top three favorite bands. I guess you
Really?
would say it's
That's interesting.
Sunny Day Real Estate, Starflyer 59, and then Godspeed You Black Emperor. It gets weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. All right, well, we'll have to talk about that offline.
Oh yeah.
But anyways, okay, cool. So any other what gear did you run across where you're like, oh my gosh, I gotta have that somehow?
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, you know what? I will say something that stood out to me was an Eastman. I was over at the Eastman Guitars booth, Eastman Strings, and they produce a lot of wonderful imported stuff, and they've kind of set the bar, I think, for that quality in a lot of their stuff. And I started out by building mandolins and acoustic guitars, and then eventually did electrics. The first thing I built was an A-style mandolin and then an F-style.
Oh, wow.
And so I started checking out their mandolins and playing some scales on there because I love bluegrass as well. And then they had this guitar that appeared to look like the old school Gibson LG guitars, the ones that had the carved spruce top and the oval sound hole.
Oh, yeah.
And then and had that beefy neck. And then I looked closely and I'm like, wait a minute, that's got 8 strings on it. It's a mandocello.
The Mandocello.
The mandocello.
what the hell was that?
Man.
I don't know.
That's his Mandocello call. No, I mean,
It's like the
I would
fretted
agree with you.
equivalent,
Eastman, yeah, I mean, Eastman was one of the earlier import companies, and I mean, I think they started off in like you said, mandolins and acoustic and jazz arch tops, and now I think they've expanded into some pretty decent electric lines too. So
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, everyone that I've tried, I thought was it was a top-notch guitar.
Did you get a chance to play the Mandalorian? Hey.
That's the Mandocello.
Oh boy, that was awful. I'm sorry.
The Baby Yoda thing.
I
a dad
halfway
joke,
apologize for that.
Yes.
Why does
No,
everybody think
it's
that baby
good.
is Yoda?
I don't know, but let's not talk about
It's
it.
not Yoda.
Okay, enough.
On this week's Star Wars podcast.
No, we should. Okay,
Oh, man.
recover. Whew, everybody take a deep breath. All right, cool. Well, thanks for that little NAMM wrap up there, fellas.
Yeah, I'm jealous.
We appreciate it. Tony and I were like really bummed that we couldn't go
Everybody,
this year.
I had to answer why. Where's Tony and Todd? Where are they at? Where's
That's 'cause
Tony
they
and
like
Todd?
us
Where's
best.
Tony and Todd? I figured that. Yeah, I had to answer.
You're an also ran.
I'm just kidding. Only one person asked.
Yeah.
All right, Boot Ferguson Guitars. Let's talk a lot about your wares.
Sure.
You've got, I think, just really quickly, your maybe most recognizable thing about your guitars, like right out of the gate, your headstock.
Okay. Which one? The flyweight or the regular?
I guess it's the flyweight. It's got
Yeah.
the really heavy graphic on it.
Yeah.
So if you're looking around and you say that thing, I know you've seen it, people. So if you're looking for that, that's his, and that's the kind of guitars that we're talking about tonight, and the other ones he has too. But I just, for whatever reason, want to say like, hey, those are cool. I like that a lot. So there.
I appreciate that. Yeah. Yeah, no, that was a great. So that was a collaboration with Nick also, and he designed the logo on that. Because we were going with a certain aesthetic with a flyweight, sort of your souped up 60s student model guitars.
Yep.
is what the inspiration was for that. And so we talked for weeks, and he came up with that graphic, and yeah, it worked out really great.
Yeah, it's kind of like the like a nod to the old K's and harmonies.
There's something
that
industrial about it.
Yeah.
Which is really cool.
Yeah,
which
yeah.
fits with the Nick's aesthetic too. So.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So, anyways, that was a brief diversion. Sorry, I don't know why I did that, but anyways, we would have gotten to it anyway, but my mouth ran away with the spoon. So let's find out where you started with here. So you started out making mandolins and stuff, right?
So I left El Paso, left my apprenticeship, went to South Carolina, started my own business, and I got the itch to build. My mentor, Barry Martin, who still to this day is a luthier here in El Paso, he knew that, you know, I had a lot of fear when it came to approaching some new things, and so he kind of tricked me into believing that mandolins were easier to build, right? He says, you know, hey, I'm going to send you this 1936 Gibson A550. It's in shambles, but use it to spec out your mandolin. And oh, by the way, you know, these are way easier to build, and people pay a lot of money for mandolins. So just try it out and see what you think. And so I did. And then later, I'm building an acoustic and a mandolin at the same time, halfway realizing that, oh, he gave me the hardest thing to do first. That's what he actually did. He gave me the absolute hardest thing to do first, and then I'm building this acoustic guitar and finding out that it's a lot easier. And so that's where it all started. And then from there, I got requests for electric guitars, and that sort of took over a little bit. And at one point in time, I had 11 different models, and I did my first NAMM show in 2011. Had no idea what I was doing. My wife went out there with me, and I think to this day she still has sort of PTSD from it, you know.
Oh yeah,
because you know people are asking us, you know, are these production models? And I'm saying no, these are one of a kind. You know, I'm just trying to oversell it, and I had no idea what I was doing. And later on, I finally dwindled down my models, so I only have 2 models. I've got the Shirley and the Walker, and there's different classes. I've got the flyweight, the standard, and deluxe is how I set those out. And,
now, when you say flyweight, is it a lighter guitar, or is it you just called it flyweight, or how does that work?
Yeah. So actually, Nick came up with that name. But yeah, it's a lighter guitar. The body of the flyweight is an inch and a quarter, just under an inch and a quarter thick. It's got a nice beefy neck made out of mahogany. No neck dive in it.
So it's kind of like a Japanese feeling thing, almost. It sounds like
almost, yeah,
melody maker-ish.
Yeah,
exactly. All top loading pickups. So you know, we had the idea of that if I can. The idea was to engineer the process so I could save the consumer money, right? And so
right.
I got all my templates right, and we had certain design factors. So all the routes are on the top, and it only accepts top loading pickups. And now that, you know, there's a lot of guys out there like Gemini and Lawler and McNelly doing, you know, they can do just about anything in a P90 dog ear casing, right? Mm-hmm. So decided, okay, let's make everything top loading. Anyone can switch out pickups if they want. Super easy. And yeah, just to have a nice platform for people to mess around with. It's the working musician's guitar.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good idea, and it's a great way to get into a brand that you already like, because that is an incredibly your flyweight line is really affordable.
Thanks.
Yeah, definitely.
And I'm assuming anybody can call you up and say, "I'd like this. Can you, you know, I want it in this color. Or I want it these pickups," and you can kind of customize it a bit.
Yeah. There's a little bit of customization, as long as like I had one guy ask me if I could do a wood head plate on there, and that's where I had to draw the line, and you know it starts getting a little too custom. But yeah, they can choose a different color, different pick guard, different pickups, pretty much whatever there.
Nice, very cool. I'm personally a fan of the double cut.
Thanks.
I love a double cut. It's a great looking guitar. You did a great job on it. Aesthetically, it is just spot on for, you know. It just screams like rock and roll. I dig it.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
And it's nice because you have another range, because, you know, some of these other ones like the Deluxe Shirley and stuff, like that's got a very different aesthetic altogether. As does the bolt-on classic, surely. It's like you've got a really nice range coming out of two shapes, essentially, right?
Sure, yeah, and it's still being able to borrow from the things that we're fans of, right? That was kind of the idea there, is to, how do you make a Telecaster without making a Telecaster,
right?
And so, yeah.
Excellent. Now, who are some of your, I guess maybe design influences?
Some of my design influences. One big one is Stromberg. And early on, I got to restore those old Venetian cut acoustic guitars that they had with the. They were really ahead of their time. It was early 1900s style guitar, and it had an adjustable neck, like the neck pivots where it meets the body, and they're hard to work on and hard to get right. But I was just enthralled by the way Stromberg used those just points and curves, and it's always there's always a curve coming to a point and all that. And so that's been a big influence for me. And then there's as far as anything else, probably Martin guitars. When it comes to electrics, I love digging into the history of Leo Fender and going into G&L and then some Les Paul stuff. So yeah, I draw it from so many places. It's really hard to.
Sure.
I could go on and on, but yeah.
A lot of these almost have I say Western feel to them, not in the sense of just blatant country Western or something, but there's I don't know what it is. I can't put my finger on it. But there is a sort of a Westerny kind of feel to some of these. Tony doesn't agree.
I don't agree.
All right.
No, I mean, I really see a strong, like I said, a melody maker influence on these guitars. I mean, I think that's great because those are really great utility instruments.
I think it's the shape of the horns on like the Shirley. There's something about that makes me feel.
Surely you can't be serious.
I know, right? But you also have like a kind of like a spalted top and a there's a
okay.
And you got the Bigsby and everything, so it's like there's some chicken picking going to happen on that guitar for sure.
Oh yeah.
If only it were orange.
Yes.
Oh, there's an orange one. There's an orange one, all right. Yeah. No, and you're right. I think early on when I was in South Carolina, I and everyone probably got tired of me here talking about this, but I got to a place where, when I left El Paso, I was really glad to leave it, right? And then when you're in some other foreign place like the South, which is a wonderful place, by the way, don't get me wrong, I love the South and everything about it, but I really missed Texas, and so part of me kept, there's some part in my subconscious, and I'm not ashamed to admit it, that I was like, what, I want someone to look at this and maybe think of Texas, maybe. Not like, that whole like don't mess with Texas kind of thing, but just some of that little Western flair, And,
there is. So, it's in the pickguard cut. It's like it's there. I can see it. You have no vision, Tony.
I'm blind. I'm completely blind.
But it's like it isn't a full offset. It's just like a little bit of a.
It's like crooked steer horns.
It's like a little slow.
That's right.
It's like a little slow. But then when you get into the non-flyweight stuff, the standard, they kind of feel a little bit jalopy-ish, and maybe jalopy is a period incorrect term, I guess, but a jalopy, my dad used to say jalopy all the time. It's like a car made for, it's like a parts caster kind of thing. That's what a jalopy would be, like a parts caster, but it's not just thrown together, but you can see that your hand is in here. They're not, everything isn't totally standardized. That's that's one thing I really dig about this.
Oh, thanks. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the Western thing that I called out, just saying.
So I had a question concerning, obviously you moved from South Carolina to Texas, which climate-wise are pretty different in terms of that. Have you noticed
different.
any issues with, building something in a drier climate and then shipping to a more humid climate?
Yeah, no, actually it's been pretty decent in that regard. I used to have problems shipping from South Carolina to drier climates for sure. Because South Carolina was so humid. And we did our best to try to keep that humidity down, but it's going to get in there no matter what. My part of my solution to that was to use reclaimed woods, and not just because it's it's not necessarily a cheap thing to do, but I am, especially in these days, I'm more and more conscious about our environment and the use of the wood and the wood industry and all that stuff. And so early on, I made it an aim to use reclaimed woods. And so that's the most stable stuff. But when I'd use any mahogany billets that I got from, there was a kiln in Kingstree, South Carolina, that I would get my mahogany from a lot. And, this stuff was sitting out there for 10 years, and I'd use it, and then I'd take it on the road. I ended up touring with a band for a little while. Took the guitar on the road that I had made, and I'd still have problems with, frets sticking out of the ends. So my solution is to just wait as long as I could in between steps, let it do its thing, and then file it down and all that. Here, everything dries out. In fact, it's a great place for the repair business, because anyone who has a Martin or Taylor and it comes through town and tours, they're always going to get a crack in the top or the side, and they're coming to you to fix it. And it doesn't matter how much you humidify it. It's so arid here, and so what I've done a lot is when I get wood, I like to just leave it out, let it do its thing, let it twist and warp and everything, and then use it, and then wait long periods of time. So the way I've got my batching set up is, I get all the neck billets glued up, or neck blanks glued up, and then I leave them out in the sun. And that's after already having left them out, cut them up, dimension them, and then leave them out for a few weeks. And then, I glue them up, leave them in the sun a couple of days while I work on the bodies or, work on other things. So the real art form has been, in the patience game. But yeah, sending guitars out from here, they seem to be a little bit more stable and more predictable, for sure.
Okay.
That's very cool to know.
And I noticed you're also, I think you're, if not all, at least predominantly using nitro lacquer on your finishes.
Yeah, I'm doing nitro on the bodies, and then I'm doing a gun stock oil on the necks.
Okay. I love that. Yeah. I love that you're doing that. I want all my guitars to be that. I complain about this all the time. A painted neck, I just can't. I hate it. But what am I going to do? That's the guitars I got. Whatever. Nah.
Oh yeah.
Whiny,
it's
Todd,
preference too.
Do you find with the gun stock oil that it has to be reapplied every year or two, or is it kind of a more permanent thing?
On mine, it's more permanent, and so I mix my own oil for that.
Okay.
So and there was a kind of a history to how I did that. I did the stuff that you buy at the gun store, and then we switched over to a polymerized spray that you can get. I forgot what it's called, but it was really expensive per can. It was like $20 a can, but it did like 3 necks. And the spray nozzle on it was really fine. So, we didn't have a lot of issues, with how it looked. But now it's, I do my own tung oil and polyurethane sort of mix with a couple of other things in there. And so I just apply by hand, and then I spray on the headstock so that it has a more uniform texture on the headstock. Or I'll just buff it out, and make it glossy.
Man, oh man.
But, yeah.
I've talked to Chase actually a couple times since he's close by, and I'm like, what would it be if I just brought you all my guitars and you took off all the neck stuff? And he's like, well, I'm like, oh, don't answer that crud. Oh boy. So you've got your two shapes. Is there anything that we can expect in the near future, or are you going to just kind of stick with those, or?
Yeah, I'm actually, there'll be two shapes coming out, possibly by Winter NAMM, and then an acoustic in a similar vein to the Flyweight that I've been, because that's my favorite thing to do is acoustics. They just take so much more time, and I've got to really engineer that process to make it profitable, but also as inexpensive as I can get it to the consumer, obviously, and everything. So, but yeah, I'll have some cool stuff down the line.
Awesome.
By winter.
And did you say another electric?
Yeah. Yes. Possibly two.
Two. Okay.
Yeah.
That's pretty ambitious.
Without giving anything away, is there any
Sure.
inspiration that you can give a nod to that might be?
One of them is a collaboration with a friend also, and all I can say on that one is it's
I'm really
it's probably not,
torturing you.
It's you're right. Yeah, no, I can't even like hint around at it.
It's a flying V, isn't it? It's a flying V.
No, it's actually a trident. Have you seen Chipson's trident?
Yeah, there we go.
Okay, we'll let you off the hook there. That's no problem.
Well, when you are ready, let us know. And
Yeah,
we'll help
please.
get it sorted out.
certainly.
Please let
Yeah.
us know, and we can hype that up for you.
Sure. Thanks.
Well, man, we really appreciate you sharing, what's interesting about your guitars, and I think you shared several things. We didn't even get into like hardware and all that stuff that is not run of the mill. You have a simple looking guitar in a classic way, but there's a lot going on, and I'm so glad that you shared some of those aspects, because this is clearly something that you have your fingerprints all over, not on the finish, and that's great. So you can get a custom, virtually custom guitar from you, who's actually building it with your own hands, and design and everything for really, really affordable for the players out here. So I appreciate that of you.
Thank you, guys. Glad to do it.
Is it time, ladies and gentlemen?
It's time.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is a pleasure to bring you this week the segment you've been waiting for the whole show. It is called Would You Rather?
What?
Okay. This week's Would You Rather. So would you rather, and then this is a good one.
That's my favorite part of the show. When you go,
I'm here for you, my man.
There's a tradition that I do with my kids when it comes to Would You Rather, so I'm going to pull that on you guys just to warn you.
Okay, perfect.
Awesome.
Perfect.
Okay. This Would You Rather is from our friend Pete Rubio. And this is what he had to say. Hey, Knobs, I found your podcast a couple of months ago and really liked it. So I went back as far as I could in iTunes and started binge listening to it. Sweet.
Yeah.
I caught up this morning with the latest Cower episode. Now, instead of listening to you guys throughout the day, I'm going to have to wait a whole week in between episodes.
Yeah. Now, he sent out in December, but I've been trying to catch up with everybody's Would You Rather and working them in when it's right. Sometimes you got to have the right guy to fit this in, the right guest. So
Right.
we're glad that we could get back to that one. So
I like this one. So this was Pete's Would You Rather. Would you rather have discovered a guitarist early on in his or her career, follow the music as it's released, or would you rather discover the guitarist later on in life and have full access to the entire catalog?
That's a great question.
And
That's
that's
a
why
really great
and
question.
that's why I asked you, Tony Maloney,
that's really-
if you remembered when the last Beatles album came out, because you would have to go way back for this.
You'd have
I'm
to.
saying,
You'd have to get back.
get back.
Sorry, that was just laying on the table. Nobody took it.
Oh man.
All right, Tony Baloney, hit us with that first.
Wow.
Great question.
Yeah, I'm thinking about it, because, all right, so my experience with working with new talent, if you want to call it that, somebody, the hot new ticket, whatever, is those people tend to be a little bit nicer. And they work with you, and I think sometimes they actually remember you, as opposed to someone who's already, all the way up
Mega.
here.
Yeah.
Mega stardom.
You're just another ant.
Yeah. And I like the idea of, I'm generally not a patient person, but I like the idea of having a gradual immersion into the works of
You should
of a
hang
person.
around with Jared. He's a model of patience. You could learn a few things.
I've seen him in action at restaurants.
I hate waiting in line.
Yes.
Okay.
So I think that I'm going to go with choice A, because I think it's almost like a band or someone that you hear or you feel like you've discovered, at least for yourself. You kind of, there's a special place for that band or guitarist in this case.
Yep.
That you kind of feel like, hey, I did discover him or her.
Yeah.
So I'm going.
Okay.
I'm going with choice A.
All right, Jared.
That's a really, really, really tough question. Because, when I was a teenager, 15, 16, that's when I wanted to listen to all the Zeppelin records. And I listened as many as I can get my hands on. My friend's dad actually had the record, the vinyl record collection. And that's how I listened to most of their stuff for the first time.
Right.
Which was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
However, as time went on, Jimmy Page Rubber Plant, they put out a record, Jimmy Page, Black Crowes, Led Zeppelin got back together at the O2 for the Swan Song thing, the guy or that died or whatever. So it's kind of best of both worlds there. However, with all that crap said, I'm going to go with good old Tony Baloney on this. I want to be.
Someone's joined me.
I know. I want the anticipation and the excitement of not knowing what that record's going to sound like.
It could also be disappointment too.
Well, yeah, that's the gamble. But you go to the store, you buy the physical thing, you bring it home.
The physical graffiti.
Yeah, the vinyl. Now that you can get it on vinyl again, and then you listen to it for the first time. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd rather do that. I'm with good old
All
Tony
right.
Baloney
All right.
on this one.
Boot, how about yourself?
Yeah, I feel like I'd have to go with A as well, and it's because of probably a good example of that sort of thing. Although I kind of met him mid-career, was when Zach Feinberg from the Revivalists reached out to me about getting a guitar, and they were just on the cusp of sort of making it, and then 2 years later I had his guitar completed, and he invited us out to a show, and they're just such super nice guys, and you can really see where their music's developed, and I really enjoy that. I really enjoy seeing a snapshot of where they were and where they are now, and so yeah, I'll have to go. But I'll also add, it's a trick question in both situations. The artist is Nickelback, and the only song available to you is a love song to Fire Ants. That's the Trick question. That's a Tom Haverford quote from Parks and Rec.
Yeah.
Boy, just to always mess with would you rather's. I do that with my kids all the time.
I like Nickelback.
Okay.
I like fire ants.
We'll edit it out. All right. Let's see. As for me, I am definitely going A. It's not even really a question because a couple things.
It's more an attitude than a question.
It is. Joe Strummer was being interviewed, and he was asking him, like, how are you going to keep doing this thing that you're doing as your audience gets older? And he says, I don't want to keep doing the same thing that I'm doing right now. I want to grow. I want to grow with my audience. I want my music to evolve with my audience. As I get older, so will my attitude towards what I'm playing and what's influencing me. So it's kind of ridiculous to think that I'm still going to be doing these things, 10, 20 years from now. And I thought that was kind of profound, being asked that so early on in his career. Joe Strummer from The Clash, in case somebody out there doesn't know that. But I think there's also an element of, right now, we can sit down and in a weekend watch a year's worth of someone's work on Netflix. Mm-hmm. And when you begin to ingest something that quickly, nuances are lost. You can get bored really easy. So that's kind of like a weird psychological thing. And I think you're right, Jared. You mentioned the anticipation. Like, when something does come out and you're like, yes, right? And you adjust it, and then you can't wait for that next thing. And inevitably what you do is you start going back to the thing that you liked and dig into it further and try to find more things out about that. So those things, I think we don't really have that in society right now. And we might have been the last big generation to benefit from that, to be honest.
Possibly.
Yeah.
So it's unanimous.
I
Yes.
concur.
Choice A.
Excellent question.
Pete Rubio. Pete Rubio. Thank you, Pete.
I know.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thanks for listening to us, Pete.
Yeah, we appreciate it. Thank you for sending that in. Hey, if you have a would you rather that you're dying to get us to read and answer, we would love to hear from you. You can send that to us via email or direct message.
Make it tongue twisty too, so I screw it up a bunch of times.
I don't. He likes that.
You can count on it.
Yes. Tony Baloney,
Yes.
can you take it away from here?
You would like me to thank some people.
I would.
I would like to thank some people. Jared would like to thank some people.
Thank you.
At this point of the show, we like to thank a special group of people. Mm-hmm. We call them our executive producers. Some might call them friends. Friends of the podcast.
They get stuff.
And someone's driving down the road right now, I know, saying, executive producer, I don't know. How do I get to
That's right.
How do I get to be one? Well, you head over to patreon.com/The Guitar Knobs.
On the internet.
On the internets. Yeah, if you have that. And go on. There's a couple of different levels in which you can participate. Each level comes with a bevy of prize packages.
We got a new name for one of the levels.
That's right.
The Grand Poobah.
The Grand Poobah executive producer. We got a couple people in there, and
Yes.
we are so appreciative of that.
And,
Thank you.
And we are donning our fezzes in their honor.
We
Yes,
are.
So go over patreon.com/The Guitar Knobs. Check it out. Each level has its great stuff. When you get to the executive producer and the Grand Poobah executive producer levels, Jared, what happens?
Well, you get to have your name read on the
That's
thing.
right. In addition to all that great stuff, T-shirts and barefoot buttons and
right.
giveaways and oh my God, I can't even begin to list all of the stuff.
Me either.
You get your name read on the thing.
Yes.
And that's what I'm going to do right now.
Tony, before you do that,
Oh, I'm stopping.
I need to just share something really quick regarding these people that you're going to read off.
Yes.
Specifically, Brad Partridge, who reached out to me on Patreon. We had a discussion. He is one of those folks that has suffered from the Australian fires. And
not good,
so,
not good.
we said, no. You're good here, buddy. So we want to say a big, fat, humongous thank you to Brad Partridge, whose name you're going to read in just a second.
Yes.
And we wish him and all of our other Australian friends a good recovery.
Yes.
Tough stuff out there. So
Yeah.
just wanted to make that shout
very
out real
heartbreaking.
quick.
Oh, nice. Nice, Todd. So without further ado, I'm going to read the list of names.
That's right.
I'll go from newest to most senior. Mr. Steve Keys, Cody Foster, Cody Lane, Justin Jones, Tommy Manasco, David Kaminga, Doug Gann, Tim Novak, John Esterly, Chris Heidel, Tig Harmon, Tyler Bray, John Anglin, Anthony Lathrop, Johnny Knowles, Stefan Lamb. My phone froze. Michael Senchuk, Brian Robison, Jonathan Jerusik, Ken Sayers, Corey Nigro, Brad Partridge, Michael Van Zant, Doug Christ, Darren Gregory, Chris Kearney, Sean S. John Daly, Martin Cliff, and Tom Brazen.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much. Thank you to all those who aren't being read off at the other levels. We truly, truly appreciate it. Boot, where can people get an awesome guitar from you?
They can go to a couple of places. They can go to Chicago Music Exchange, SouthernGuitars.com, GuitarPedalShop.com, Spicer's Music, and or BAFerguson.com.
All right. So if they want something special, if I want something special, I need to go directly to your website to get that.
Yeah. If it's custom, yeah.
Okay.
They're
Sounds
all
good.
special.
They are all special, but if you want a specialer one,
That's right.
More special.
more specials.
extra special.
All right, Boot, we're super grateful that you've been on the show. Tony,
Yeah, thank you guys for having me.
you bet, man.
Yeah, well, let's say you need a special pick guard for your new BA Ferguson guitar.
Yes,
That's right. Yeah.
or a different one, not
Or a
because it's
different
a
one.
bad one.
Not
just,
because it's bad. Maybe you just want a different color.
Yes.
Boot
yeah.
maybe doesn't have the wide selection that Pick Guardian does.
Yes.
Head over to pickguardian.com and check out some of the things that I offer. I offer much more than what's on the website. If you need something custom, shoot me an email. I will take care of you personally. If you
Yeah.
want to take a look at some of the projects we talk about from time to time, Instagram at pickguardian and the number 1.
Jared?
Oh, if you are in need of pickups repair, or anything having to do with pickups, go to BrandonWongPickups.com. And right now, I've got a limited run of 24 sets of 1959 clones with very, very accurate covers, and they are aged really well. So
Not just covers, other parts too.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
all a big deal. So
Yeah.
if you're interested in really accurate looking things
And sounding.
and sounding, of course.
This is like super. I mean, I say this with all the endearment and doubt in me, but this is those are kind of cork sniffy.
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
Absolutely. They're for the guys that want to put it on their Gibson Les Paul R9 and all that kind of thing.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
it's a very
It's like
limited.
the exact radius bend of the corners and stuff, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
You hit the head on the nail.
Yeah, which oddly enough hasn't been available so much.
So that's going on right now until they're gone. So that's kind of a cool thing that's
All
happening.
right. So shoot Jared an email or DM him on his brand site.
I like old repairs too. So
Yeah.
send me those.
All those things. You can send me an email, Todd at theguitarknobs.com, or DM me on Instagram at guitarknobs. We would love to hear from you. Your would you rather, just share a little story that you have, or say hi, whatever. It's cool. All right, everybody. We're so thankful to BA Ferguson for joining us tonight. Boot, thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. It was a pleasure and an honor.
Thank you.
Thanks, buddy.
Make sure you go check out his guitars. Make sure you have a great guitar week and subscribe.
Yeah.
Somebody. He does that. He gives me the slow nod, like you're going. I'm watching you row towards the waterfall.
Now I got to look
while
up
you're
Eastman.
looking at the pretty trees, and I'm just gonna nod real slow.
Sometimes the words
Thanks, man.
just come out of his mouth, and there's nothing you can do to stop him.
I know.
Wow.
Well, that's it for these knobs. Please visit our Patreon page at patreon.com/theguitarknobs. Visit our website at theguitarknobs.com for all of our past episodes, 4 on the Floor blog, and other good stuff. You can connect with us on social too at our Facebook page and share your gear and stories on our Facebook group. Also, be sure to check out our Instagram at Guitar Knobs. Catch you next time.